You ever go outside and see people? Not just any kinds of people, parents with children. If you're lucky, they're well behaved, but you aren't. You're never lucky. They're always causing trouble and the parents sure aren't going to do anything about it. But you say to yourself, if I had kids, they wouldn't be like that. Which brings me to Sweetness and Lightning, or more specifically, Tsumugi. Just look at her, ain't she fucking adorable? Her energy is infectious, which is especially important considering the rest of the characters are generally more reserved. It's just, she's nothing like any of those hypothetical grocery store ragamuffins. Except that's wrong, because she totally is.
こら、紬！ほら、こっちを食べなさい。ほら、紬、食べよう。すみません。すみません。
She's whining in this scene because she didn't get to see the food prepared in front of her. But not all child characters are like this. In the 2011 series Usagi Drop, the main protagonist Daikichi eventually takes on the guardianship of Kaga Rin, a young relative with no one else to look after her. Much of the first episode is spent on this choice. It isn't a decision to make lightly. Sure, he has no obligations except for his job, no real hobbies, no love life, but it's still a pretty big change in lifestyle, and he does make some compromises for Rin's sake. But there to indirectly help him make his choice is Reina. I mean, she's drawn to be as cute as anything, but don't let that fool you. She's kind of a little shit. Even though it's a funeral, she spends half her screen time running around and disrupting everyone in mourning. In one particular moment, she gets a cat's cradle from Rin and parades it about as if it's her own. Daikichi watches from a distance and grumbles inwardly, but Reina's mom is really just helpless. The best she can do is scold her lazily or drag her away while apologizing in her stead. Foiling Reina against Rin makes it easier to get behind Daikichi's decision to take her in. He may have very well been thinking along the lines of, there's no way Rin could be that bad. And, well, he was right, since Rin's kind of shy and just less of a handful in general. But that actually kind of takes away from Daikichi's conflict for me. Rin's just the perfect kid. At times she's more responsible than Daikichi, and since he doesn't seem to have much of a life in the first place, he never seems to lose much by taking her in. It's just so idealized. The only other married couple that gets any amount of attention in the show is Reina's parents, which is something of a floundering marriage. Yukari is the only other parent of a young child whose spouse is mentioned, but despite being divorced, she is managing just fine as far as we can tell. But I personally couldn't get behind the rhetoric of single parenting being this easy, which makes me wonder why bother bringing it up at all. But Sweetness and Lightning did manage to sell its conflict to me, and without taking from the relaxing fun atmosphere either. In fact, having the moments of conflict made me enjoy the fun parts more. Tsumugi just felt like more of a natural child to me. I mean, that's not to say Rin isn't justified in acting like she does. She was raised by an old man, so of course she's more mature. But I feel like you're more likely to encounter a Tsumugi than a Rin. But despite her being more annoying, the show managed to endear her to me more. Sure, she needs a bit of scolding here or there, but she's still a good kid. It's helped along by the moments where we see the world through her eyes or have random strangers dragged into her pace. But at times like this, I assure you some of those bystanding adults are thinking, what a little shit. But parents see more sides to their own children than those kids will ever know, so it's easy to forgive them when they make a mistake, because what better time to make mistakes than as a child? Parents don't like scolding their kids. Sure, her restaurant freakout was so childishly petty you cringe, but I still couldn't get that mad at her. I mean, just look at how much she enjoys watching others cook. It's like half the fucking show. And her only remaining parent, Kohei, is right there to bring her in. Considering that the kick-starting incident of the story is him deciding to learn how to cook so he can become a better caretaker for his daughter after his wife's passing, we know full well he's a good father. If Tsumugi was in Usagi Drop, she could have easily been in the role of Reina, an annoying foil to make Rin look even more adorable and sweet. But in endearing us to a child who would be so goddamn annoying in another context, Sweetness and Lightning does a great job at putting us in Kohei's shoes and letting us see her as he does. Because, come on, how can you hate this? And in his shoes, we can see that, compared to Daikichi, Kohei clearly struggles more, even if he has far more skills and tools at his disposal than Daikichi. He's known Tsumugi since birth, can somehow survive on 4 hours of sleep at night, and works a job that is able to support him and his daughter while only needing him to work during school hours. But it still never felt easy for Kohei, and I think that's important because I don't think for a second that parenting is easy, let alone single parenting. Stuff like this is going to happen, and if you make a kid, chances are they're going to piss someone off eventually. But hey, kids will be kids. You can just wave off those complainers. You're doing a fine job of raising your kid and no one can tell you otherwise, right? Right?